Hey everybody, welcome to Geeksvana Live. I hope you're all having a fantastic afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever it may be. Today is the final DJI Mavic 3 update you're going to be getting from Geeksvana before launch, which isn't hard because we're only, 30-something hours away from the launch of the drone itself. So be doing pretty good to bring you any more updates. But today we're going to be talking about things like the pricing. We're going to work through a bit of the specification, but also the recent list which was put out there about what is in the box of the three different ones, which again is going to be interesting because we've seen a lot of pictures and talk about there being two batteries in a pack, that type of thing. Today we might be able to shed some more light on that. Again, these are leaks, so they're always subject to that slight part of being incorrect. So again, don't take this as fact, but I'm looking forward to the launch, it has to be said. So as I say, today is going to be our final topic on this before it releases, and also we're going to talk to you about why you might not need that cine version as well a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that one. So first up, we're going to talk about the specifications and some points that I have pulled out from Jasper Ellen's 27 leaks. There is a link in the description to Jasper's Twitter account. Go and support him. Certainly he's had a very busy few weeks and few months really leading up to it, bless him. So first of all, here we can see the obstacle avoidance is spread through many of the sensors, which some are actually fisheye lenses, so to give decent all-round coverage. I mean, that's going to be interesting. I know in the recent Chinese review that was put out, he talked about it being better than other DJIs, but not quite as good as Skydio. So it's going to be interesting from that point of view. So video transmission is confirmed as OcuSync 03 Plus, which again, I think that's expected when we saw the same controller being used as the ones, the recent releases that had the 03 in there as well, the new chunky style controller. The FCC maximum distance transmission here at the bottom is 15 kilometers with CE coming in at 8 kilometers. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because there's always a differential, of course, between the two, purely because of the way that the permissions are granted. The live view quality at the remote controller is 1080p at 30 frames. Or at 60 frames. So again, it's going to be good transmission from that point of view back to your phone or tablet. I'd be interested actually, do most people fly with a phone or tablet these days? I've kind of gone around the houses with it a little bit. I used to fly with a phone, then I switched to tablet to give me more view, and I've gone back to phone more recently. Certainly with the smaller ones, I fly the larger aircraft with obviously with a tablet, but with a phone, because I find it just a lot quicker and easier to set the Mini 3 or the Air 2S up and just literally stick a phone in the top there. I find that easy. So let me know in the live chat, and also if you're watching the replay in the comments below which you prefer to use. Next up, we have some interesting bits and pieces around the video formats, etc. So the max bitrate is quoted at 140 Mbps, which again is decent, very decent. The video formats here are exactly what you would expect, but there's also, of course, here confirmation of the Cine model holding the Apple ProRes level, which is very, very exciting, frankly. Sensor is confirmed as 1/2-inch CMOS on the camera there. Field of view being 15 degrees with an equivalent 162mm aperture of f-stop 4.4. Which of course is the fact that there's the two cameras on here which are going to combine to give you the up to 28 times zoom, which is going to be interesting from a privacy point of view. Certainly, I think it's going to raise some eyebrows. The ISO range on both video and picture is 100 to 6400. And then at the bottom here, you've got more discussion of the omnidirectional binocular vision system, supplemented with an infrared at the bottom of the aircraft. Because if you look at the pictures of the drone, we do have these sensors which are dotted around, but the main four sensors are actually on the corners, which are obviously a fisheye lens essentially to give you that sort of omnidirectional, so that when you're looking at the aircraft straight on, the sensor's slightly off and it's fisheyed, so that again it can cover most of the area. So it's interesting to see what they say in terms of actually calling it omnidirectional binocular vision system, which I think was something we started seeing with the Hubsan ones as well, actually. Graham Fullard, thank you very much for the 449 super chat there. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much there. Okay, moving on. We've got on this one, we have got quite a few bits and pieces there, haven't we? We've got things like the internal storage, which is going to be 8 gigabytes. Although, as usual, of course, there's always things like the operating system and that type of thing, which takes it down to 7.2 gigabytes of actual available space. This cine model will have the much hailed 1 terabyte of internal SSD, which is obviously going to be for use with the ProRes, which, remarkably, that's going to still fill up fairly quickly. The Hasselblad camera will have a 4/3 CMOS with an effective 20 megapixels. And we move on to this one, which is the main sort of highlight part, which has a lot of information that people want to know. You're looking here that the takeoff weight is listed at 900 grams. Now, this is probably the standard model. I'm not sure how much the SSD will affect the weight, though. With the maximum flight time of 46 minutes with maximum hover time of 40 minutes. Now, of course, the differential there is that the way that these drones are designed these days, it's actually more efficient when it's moving. A quadcopter, when hovering, is really, fighting with gravity, etc., and it is struggling away. It doesn't look it because, of course, you've got all that fantastic software keeping everything going. But it's actually more efficient these days in flight. So hence you have the extra 6 minutes of flight time. But again, these are with no wind, which is something which is obviously important to remember. Wind resistance is pretty good at 12 meters a second, which is up from the 10.5 of the Air 2S. So next up, we have the latest retail renders of each model. So this is, first of all, the Cine. As you can see, it looks very similar to the, in fact, identical to the standard model, but apart from the fact that you have that little Cine on the arm there. I wonder if this is a bit of a thing that I see sometimes here in the UK when someone has a certain car and there is a sports model of that car where they buy the badge. I wonder if we're going to see Cine stickers being sold on eBay. Let's hope not. And here it is profiled sat on the ground, which it has that interesting, almost, you've got an Inspire sat behind me there. And it's almost got that sort of Inspire-y legged sort of feeling to it, basically, when it's sat on the ground, which I quite like that profile. It gives you a bit more ground clearance as well. Obviously keeps the gimbal well away from the ground, which is good. And there's a view of the bottom looking up, which is, I think, one of the best shots. Whenever I see these retail photos, this is the kind of shot I like to see on those and on the review videos as well. It gives you a really clear look at the camera unit and how the gimbal is attached there. And again, this is a zoomed in view, top down on the drone. And again, you can see there where the rear lip with the sensors, which then obviously has the batteries to pop in the back. And this is the standard model. Again, as I was saying before, it's pretty much the same one. So I've chosen a couple of different sort of angles to show from this point of view. You can see it really does look the same. Looks like a tree frog, says Tailspin FC. Yeah, indeed. That's interesting. Okay, up next, we're going to take a look at what is claimed to be, let me get the right little box up here. Claimed to be the list of what's actually going to be in the box, which I am actually, I seem to be slightly out of kilter. There we go. There's a list of what's in the box. And this was put out by Roland Quant on Twitter. And I'll bring up the little packs here so we can see the retail photos of them as well. So this has been doing the rounds on Twitter. DJI Mavic 3 Cine Premium Package contents consist of one DJI Mavic 3 Cine, a DJI RC Pro, which is, of course, the Smart Controller 2.0, as many of us have been calling it. 3 DJI Mavic 3 intelligent flight batteries. I know from this picture, it is only showing 2, and a lot of the other leaks and bits and pieces only seem to ever show 2 in the pictures. I would presume 1 is in the aircraft in this photo, therefore, but it's unusual for them not to show it. But again, this could be an outdated photo. There are 6 times Mavic 3 low noise propellers, which is obviously a pair. 1 times DJI Mavic 3 battery charging hub, which does have the 3 ports, which again does lead you to believe that there would be 3. And certainly we're used to seeing 3 batteries in the combo packs. 1 times DJI 65 watts portable charger, a DJI Mavic 3 storage cover, ND filter set with 4, 8, 16 and 32, and then there's actually an extra set with 64, 128, 256 and 512 in there as well. So some fairly formidable sounding ND filters. There is the DJI convertible carrying bag, which looks very exciting, and a 10 gigabyte Lightspeed data cable, which of course is going to be absolutely essential with this Cine, and a Type-C cable as well. Now we also have the Fly More combo package, which the contents again are of fairly similar, apart from the fact that you don't have that sexy controller in there, frankly. So you have the N1 remote controller and N1 remote controller sticks, the Mavic 3 itself, of course, the RC cable, standard micro USB connectors, and the Lightning connector, the DJI Mavic 3 intelligent flight battery, 3 of those, 6 of the propellers again, 1 of the charging hubs, the portable charger, 65-watt portable charger, and the Mavic 3 storage cover, as it's called. And then you get the 3 ND, the Mavic 3 ND filter set, which has the 4, 8, 16, 32. So the lower end set from the 2 sets, which are available with the Cine, and a Type-C cable. And then the Mavic 3 package itself, which is again, you would expect to be pretty similar to that from the point of view that but it doesn't have things like obviously the ND filters, and it just has the 1 battery, etc., which is the pack, the base pack, as we would often call it, for that particular one. So yeah, so that's interesting, isn't it, to see what this little list here, let me get my arm out of the way, shows as far as what will be in the box. Whether that's completely accurate or not, it comes from a fairly good source, but we'll have to wait and see whether or not that is actually what happens. Now, in terms of prices, which I believe is there we go, it's the one that I actually got in the wrong place. Apologies there. This is an interesting topic, and it's one that will obviously be answered very soon. So all of the debate will be over extremely soon, but you can't really get to those prices just by converting the Chinese prices, which have been leaked and that type of thing, showing the labels, etc. Because you keep in mind, there's all sorts of other factors which will keep the pricing from coming up and down. Often as well, you'll find here in the UK, we'll pay the same price that the US pay in dollars without any benefit of conversion and that type of thing. So if it's 2,000 in the US, it's also £2,000 here. But this particular list was put out by Roland Quant from Wind Futures. Again, this is in euros, but it gives you an indication, and he again is normally fairly spot on with the figures that he gives out. So could be interesting, frankly. So that leads us on to the conversation about which one do I think you should buy, which a lot of people have been asking me recently. Now, there's a really, really good video out there from Original Dobo, Ken Dono, which explains why you might not need ProRes. And I think the sweet spot, if the 3 battery thing is 100% confirmed and there are 3 batteries in that set, I think that sweet spot could still be the combo pack. I have bought drones previously, both the single battery, the base package, and the combo packs before, and I often find myself adding to them. Although, even with the single battery standard pack, you are looking at a 46-minute flight time. So in the real world, certainly late 30 minutes, which should be pretty impressive, frankly. The Cine with the ProRes is obviously something, in my opinion, that only really professionals will need, or certainly high-end hobbyists. So I would just say don't obsess over having the top model. Take a look at some of the reviews which come out showing the capabilities and the use case for the Cine level model, and the quality of the standard model. If it's up to the specs that are being circulated that I've shown you in the show today, it will certainly be up to most hobbyist flyers as far as the standard model is concerned. I would also consider the Air 2S, as it has some pretty impressive specs at what is basically a cheaper price and might well satisfy a lot of hobby flyers. So, certainly I think for myself, I am on the fence really still as far as whether I'm definitely going to buy it or not. I know that a few viewers have been winding me up in our Discord channel about the fact that I said the same about the Action 2 and other releases, and then sure enough, the day of release it comes out. And I buy it. So I'm still not sure. The C-Class issue is a big one here in the UK and the EU, although we're hoping for some kind of announcements to move that kind of things forward fairly soonish. So that could help, but yeah, it depends. It depends. Certainly, if one of the prices that I've heard, which was £1,879, £1,879 for the standard pack, I might be tempted to that and then upgrade to the Cine once the C label system is handled. But what C label will this Cine get, depending on its weight, etc. So it's certainly going to be very, very interesting. That's today's live stream. This is just a very quick update to show you the price, specifications, and what's actually in the box. So do go back and if you've just come into the stream, do go back and give that a watch. But yeah, this is, I promise, our final update on the DJI Mavic 3 before it releases tomorrow evening. So then we can get back to normal service here at Geeksvana. So thank you very much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Geeksvana Live, which, by the way, is tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. And we're actually going to be talking about Microdrone 4.0. We haven't forgotten about you, Vernon. We're still here, and we have some interesting information as far as what has been happening since the campaign was suspended by Indiegogo and what's going to be happening next. So also some interesting information on the tactics being used by the campaign owner and how he seems to be going further down. He's digging that hole deeper rather than looking to get things straightened out and go further up. But if you go onto the homepage of the Geeksvana channel, you can hit your reminder to join us tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. UK time for that particular stream. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.